Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of the Webinar Wednesday series provided by TLC. My name is Jameson Reynolds. I'm the Director of Marketing Strategy with the Library Corporation. And thank you for coming and thank you for attending. I hope everyone is having a great afternoon. Today's session is titled, it is a demo, it is a demonstration, LS2 Cataloging, cataloging for every librarian. I know with our series, sometimes we have what is a straight up software demonstration. Sometimes we have these panels and discussions. I do want to let everyone know that this is a demonstration of some of the features, not all of them. It's very hard to cover that in a half hour, but some of the features that you would find in LS2 cataloging. This session is going to be presented by Phillip Green. And I will say that, again, this is LS2 cataloging. As some of you know, the Library Corporation does have multiple platforms that we can provide you as far as a solution, be it Library.Solution, Library.Solution for Schools, or CarlX. This is the cataloging tool that you would find with Library.Solution and Library.Solution for Schools. I'm going to do my best to not extend my introduction too terribly long because I know Phil has a lot of content he wants to cover. I will say that we do always try to keep these to about a half hour. But I have a feeling because of the content that we're covering today, as well as some of the questions and discussion that might come in from the group, this might run a little bit longer. So if you see us getting to about the 3:30 Eastern mark or a little bit longer, and you see we're going past it, we do record these and you are always welcome to watch the archive, but do be aware that we are probably going to push a little bit further. Also, because this is cataloging, there is always kind of a varying of knowledge or opinion. We all know with cataloging, there can be plenty of opinion as far as certain points of information, things like that. In order to get started, we actually always do polls as we do our webinars, but we typically have them at the end. We're actually going to do a couple at the beginning here, and one probably around the middle, somewhere around there. So if you all would do us a favor, if you notice on your screen, we have a quick poll on the screen. If you would please take a moment and answer these first two questions that we're going to throw out there. That first one you can see, how concerned are you about upcoming cataloging metadata format changes? Are you eager for the changes? Are you closely monitoring but really not racing into them? You are a forever MARC fan, or you are not aware of the context in which we are asking this question? And again, when we are talking about metadata, just keep in mind we are talking about things like the MARC format. All right. So that was our first question. We have one more question coming up here, which will kind of give us an idea of who is here within this call. What is your opinion on the 245 subfield H, also known as the GMD? Are you from the let's get rid of it, we don't need it anymore, we love it, we want to keep it, or the what? I read this, as we all know, ALA is going on this weekend, and I was talking to one of our coworkers who's currently in our virtual booth over there, and I showed him this question, and his immediate response was, are you trying to pick a fight at the beginning of the webinar? And that is not my intention at all. This just gives us an idea of kind of where people are as far as where they are as far as, you know, some of the formatting, some things that have already changed, and whether they are sticking with it. So, okay, so we got that information. Phil, you've seen that. I believe I have done enough talking. I did promise Phil, before I was with marketing, I was with our product management team, and LS2 cataloging was something that I was really heavily focused on. I told him I would do my best not to talk and leave this to him. So, Phil, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jameson. Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us with the sales presentation of LS2 cataloging. As Jameson mentioned, 30 minutes is not nearly enough time to really get everything squeezed in. So we are going to be looking at the highlights within LS2 cataloging, and I'm going to point out some of my personal favorite features as well. And at the end, I think there's going to be an opportunity for you to sign up for a follow-up demonstration if you like. Now, LS2 cataloging is a part of the LS2 platform. There are many Library.Solution customers here, as well as non-TLC customers. So this is the new web-based version of LS2 cataloging that has replaced the old client. And what we'd like to do for you today is give you an idea of what LS2 cataloging can do for you, whether you're a professionally trained cataloger or you're new to the industry or you're looking to get extra help from your staff members with cataloging items. The LS2 cataloging is a web-based linked data editor, and this is a new approach to cataloging, kind of like Jameson alluded to. We want to be able to get you ready for new data structures coming down the pipe. We've all heard the terms RDA, Ferber, linked data, metadata, things like that. So we want to give you the tools that you need to catalog today and in years beyond. So I'll start off by mentioning the layout that you see here. This is the welcome page in LS2 cataloging. You'll see in the upper left, I'm at my main library. This makes it very easy for centralized cataloging and power users to switch between branches. You see we have navigation across the top to my workspaces, which is like a virtual desk or your book cart. We have authority control, import, our fast add / ILL tool, and inventory is now included within LS2 cataloging. For those Library.Solution users that are using RTI, this is the next evolution of RTI. It's going to be an easier to use interface that is wrapped up into the cataloging platform, so it's easy to navigate between tasks. Down the right-hand side, you'll see shortcuts to your frequently accessed portions of the software, and down the center is my news feed or activity stream, however you like to refer to it as. So you can see things that are occurring quickly at first glance, items that have been added, edited, deleted, printed, recovered, etc., from the Library Solution cataloging interface. So let's go ahead and we'll start off by looking at a basic workflow in cataloging. So I'm going to enter a title space. Again, think of the title space or item spaces as your virtual desk or your book cart. This will be where you conduct most of your day-to-day cataloging activities. It's really easy to get started. You can see I have a couple items currently in my workspace, and everything right now is in what we call a draft state. So if you need to work with an item and then leave to go take care of another task in the library or switch between editing items, you have everything stored in a draft until you push that big green publish button, which we're going to see in just a moment. But you can start off here. I'm going to scan. You can type in, scan your ISBN, ISSN, ASIN, UPC. So virtually any standard number will easily call up the records you would like to work with. So I have scanned an ISBN for material, and the system did not find me an auto match. So it was not able to locate the exact item that I have scanned an ISBN for. So you'll see one item did not return a match. So let's click our search again button. And you can see this is the reason we didn't get an automatic match. This is an older paperback. One of them you would probably see at the grocery store on the $5 turnstile. So it looks like this ISBN has maybe been recycled a few times. You can see the book I have here is Inside the CIA from 1994. That is the book I would like to catalog. But it looks like the Meet Patrick SpongeBob book has also, looks like they've recycled that ISBN. So let's go ahead and select the proper title, and that is Inside the CIA. There we are. So I've selected that back to my workspace. Let's take a look at another example. And this is an item that we will get a match for once I extend. Again, it's not in my local database, so I'm going to extend my search. You can see nothing in my local database. We can go out to TLC's It's Marked service. It wasn't located there, so let's go on out to another Z39 target. And we have a couple matches in OCLC. So another feature of LS2 cataloging is the ability to preview the result before you store it back or retrieve it back to your workspace. So in this example, I have 3 hits for The Reach of a Chef. Well, at first glance, I don't want the ebook, so I know to skip that one, but let's take a preview of the first entry. I take a look, and that seems like a fairly complete record. But let's look at the other option for us here. And I can see this one doesn't have a summary, so I do not want that one. I want to select the first result back to my workspace. And that is what I've done here. So the system gives you the ability to preview the items before you save them back to your workspace to begin working with them. Well, let's take a look at another example. Let's scan a UPC on a DVD. There we are. So we found The Incredibles. So let's go ahead and we're going to jump into The Incredibles and take a look at a few additional features here now. So I've scanned the UPC for the DVD, The Incredibles, and it's been saved to my workspace, and I call up the title, and you'll see immediately we have the cover art, the title and publication information, even some shelving information. And as I scroll down, it's going to squeeze that information down to increase my workspace on the screen. Now I am zoomed in a little bit so you guys can see the text easier. You do have the ability to change the font size just through your web browser zoom feature. A few things I want to point out here now that we have The Incredibles on the screen is you immediately should notice this blue checkbox here. Going back to the statement I made earlier, this is a great tool for professionally trained catalogers, folks new to the industry, or maybe even your volunteers or your helpers. You can teach them how to conduct some additional tasks that normally would take a little bit more know-how. An example here is the sorting title. For those professional catalogers in the meeting, you know that you need to go into the 245 field and change that indicator in the first column to the number 2, 3, 4, whether it be skipping over the word a or an or the. You can teach your helpers or your volunteers that if you see one of those terms appear, you simply check the box for different sort title, and you remove the extraneous characters at the beginning of the title. Now, to show that this is indeed adhering to the MARC standard and using that information to edit the subfield, or I should say the sort title, you see that there is an error message appearing until I correct the mistake. So once I've removed the term the from the beginning of the title, we'll have the proper sort title for Incredibles. Another feature of LS2 cataloging is our real-time glossaries. This is a fantastic tool to improve the searchability, the discoverability in the system, also improve the quality of your data, reduce duplication, and provide better quality data in your cataloging records. So I had done this a moment ago. It looks like my save didn't change. I'm going to delete a couple of those and show you how this real-time glossary works in real time. So the example here, personal name, we want to add Mr. Ratzenberger. There we are. We have John Ratzenberger as a voice actor, so that you can see the It's Mark service, which is a mirror copy of LC data that we update every week for you, is going to match John Ratzenberger with the proper capitalization, punctuation, and syntax. And in this film, he was a voice actor, so that even carries over to your additional descriptors here. So we can put voice actor in for John Ratzenberger. Let's also show that we can add corporate information. So in this example, it was Pixar. There we are, and Pixar was the animator for this film. And one additional example here, we'll use again corporate name. One of Jameson's favorite places to visit is Walt Disney. There we are, Walt Disney Pictures. And they are, in this case, the distributor for the film. As I scroll down, I can see my summary. We can have genre information added. So in real time, we have our genre stream here. So maybe crime fiction, topical subject information, geographic, corporate information, uniform subjects, etc., all provided to you in real time via the It's Mark Authority service. As we scroll down, we have room for our notes, awards. Maybe, for instance, we want to add an award here. Academy Award, Best Animated Feature Film. So again, even real-time glossaries for your awards to improve the discoverability and quality of data in your cataloging records. Media characteristics, physical description, language, publication information, standard number, etc. So let's go ahead and we will save those changes. All right, now we need to add some extra copies here. Let's save and continue. It found an error. So the system is smart enough to know when I've made an error. Let's see if we can find that. Oops, I left an extra field incomplete. Now let's save. So we have a couple of different ways that we can add additional items once we have cataloged the title record. I apologize for the slowness there. Of course, it worked just before the meeting. There we are. So let's go ahead and we can see that we have one item currently available. So I have the ability to add an additional item one at a time, where you can either enter the barcode that's been provided to you by your vendor or have Library.Solution generate the barcode for you. We can make the item available immediately, and we'll put this in our family DVD collection. And we'll use the suggested call number information from the title record and save. Now, let's say we're in a multi-branch system where you need to add multiple copies at one time. It's very easy to do so. We simply come to our multi-function button and choose duplicate. And in this example, we're going to have the system automatically generate, say, 5 more copies, and we're going to send a couple of these to our branches as well. And you can see, because we have the same collection schema across all branches, it very quickly populates that for you. So we can generate 5 additional copies very easy, very quickly. We also have an additional feature here where we can either add these items to the system now, or maybe we need to also add them and print labels. We can add labels and barcodes to our print queue and click continue. And we get an item pop-up message, 5 items have been added to my queue. Let's go ahead and click on that notification, which also acts as my shortcut. Logically, if you've added multiple items to your print queue, you'll probably want to go print those next. So we've made the pop-up, the notification there, a shortcut into your print queue. Now, for Library.Solution customers that have used the older version of cataloging, you probably remember the days of having to configure every single piece of stock, measuring with a ruler, getting your 1/8 and your 1/16 of an inch and your indexes and your spaces between labels. We've done all the hard work for you. Coming from other systems, you're going to probably appreciate this as well. The ability to simply choose a pre-configured stock for your barcodes or your labels. You let TLC know which ones you use. We have nearly 200 pre-configured stocks. You tell us what you use, and we will hide the rest so you don't have a giant list to scroll through. So let's take a look at this Dimco sheet for DVDs. We can see we have one for the spine and one for the back of the case. We even get the ability to view the preview before we print. You can see I have a couple other items currently in my queue. Here are my Incredibles, ready to print. Now let's say we've already used a few of these labels off the sheet. So I need to skip the first 3 labels. Let's view that preview again. And you can see we've now skipped the first 3 labels. It makes it very easy to continue using stock that you've used previously without wasting your labels. We can go ahead and print this queue. All right. Now it's going to pop open in a PDF view, because that way it adheres to your computer's printer configuration. And again, it eliminates the possibility of issues with the indents or spaces above or below your sheet as you print. Let's go ahead and print our barcodes as well. Let's get our preview. They look good, and print. Same thing, we get the PDF display to improve the accuracy and quality of your print job. Now let's say you have had a print job fail, and instead of rebuilding your print queue, you simply come to the archive, and I need to reprint the barcodes. So I simply come to my print job with the Avery 5260, I click reprint, and I can print again. If you are a Library.Solution user using the older version of cataloging, you may be smiling very largely ear to ear right now, because you know it required a few additional steps to get to that reprint feature. So we've made printing and reprinting very, very easy for you in LS2 cataloging. Let's go back over to Phillip's workspace here. And let's show one more example of adding items into the system. I scan the ISBN and I don't get a match. And upon searching through my other Z sources, I also don't have a match. This book I chose on purpose. It's very, very new. It was just published in the last few weeks via a small independent publisher. And I know that it's not in any of the Z39 targets I have available. So what I can do at this point is maybe a patron saw this book laying out on the book cart and they want to take it with them right now. So let's use our fast add feature. We'll enter the ISBN. We give the item a title. And let's go ahead and put in the author's information and the publication year. Now, when using the fast add feature, you have the option to delete the item once it's checked in. You can have TLC automatically look for an updated match for you. We have a process that runs for you every day looking for a match for that ISBN, or we can do nothing. That way you can go back and later run a report on this. We'll go ahead and click publish, and we simply add a barcode and enter the collection, and it is now ready to circulate. And just so you can see how quickly that enters the system without going too much into circulation, I just want to show that that fast add, I get my barcode to scan again. All right, I'm blocked. Let's just override that. But there we are. Be the Ball by Jeff Nelligan is now ready to circulate immediately upon adding via fast add. One additional feature that I'd like to point out before we take a look at a few things outside of the Phillip's workspace here is we now have enhanced content in LS2 cataloging. This gives you the ability to view the enhanced content that will display in the pack before you publish your record. Some systems call this a staff pack view. This is a great tool to use because you can see exactly how this record will be presented to your patrons when they look at them up in the catalog. So our new Unbound enhanced content feed features summary information, professionally vetted editorial reviews, tag clouds to allow patrons to find other items that are similar. You may also likes, similar series, similar authors, also available as, so variants of the story or different forms of content. All the award information, your look inside, table of contents, a zoomed in image of the cover, information about the author, more stories from the author, and even more by this author. So we give you the ability to view without having to switch back and forth between cataloging, save, go to the pack, and search. You can see all that beforehand. So you have a fantastic preview of your enhanced content here. And speaking of enhanced content, I'm sure we've all come across an incorrect book jacket or a missing summary or a table of contents that was incorrect. As an LS2 cataloging user, you now have the ability to communicate directly with the content provider and let them know that there was incorrect or missing content with this record. And you simply submit it to the vendor and that will be handled for you automatically. Let's take a look at a few other features I really like here within LS2 cataloging. And that is our ability to quickly edit duplicate items. You can see I have 2 items here in my workspace called Phillip's Dupes to Edit, and you can see how this is convenient for working with different types of materials. You can have import records in one workspace, actively worked records in another. This is a list of items I'd like to edit that are duplicate materials. What we can do is, as you can see, I've already selected these 2 items here. Oops, apologize, let's try that again. We've selected the 2 items, and now with my multifunction button, I have the ability to compare. This is our visual compare with ability to move holdings. So you can see I have 2 very like records, and as I scroll down, I can see that one record does not have a summary, whereas one does. And that, to me, looks like the much better record because it has that nice complete summary there. What we can do is choose this as the target record, select my holdings, and then move them to the new record. I've now moved those holdings from one record to another, and you can visually compare multiple records to, with this feature as well. The other advantage to the new Move Holdings with Visual Compare is that it will retain any of the holder statistical information on those items. So you don't have to worry about losing any holds data or any statistical transaction data that you'd like to report on later. Let's use the advanced search feature, which is also new in LS2 cataloging. In this example, what I'd like to do is apply a batch action to a particular type of material. So I'm going to search for genre. This is an example I actually just got from a customer a few days ago. And in this example, we're going to look at, they give me a very specific example that they have detective and mystery fiction, but what they would like to do is be able to add some additional genre information to that. So let's look at all my juveniles with a genre of detective and mystery fiction. And I get 5 results. Let's select these 5 and let's add them to a title space. And I'm going to add them to my, let's create a new one. Let's create a new one just for demonstration purposes. Let's call it PSG Mystery. There we are. They've been added to the new title space. And again, the notification is my shortcut. All right, so these 5 items have been added to my title space. I'm going to select all 5. And this time I'd like to edit all 5 at once and create a bulk action. What I want to do here is add a genre. And this time I want to just add mystery, mystery fiction. So that way, if patrons are searching for mystery fiction in the pack, they'll see mystery fiction as well as the detective mystery fiction. And you can either save these as a draft state or publish the changes immediately. So let's go ahead and publish them. And if there are errors, what do we do with them? Let's keep them at PSG Mystery and publish 5. 5 records were successfully edited. So that's our ability to very easily apply bulk edits and actions. It could be subject or genre or award information, lots of different options. We have several dozen fields that can be batch edited with that tool. Additionally, I wanted to show one more feature here, and that's under our item spaces. You can work with individual items as well. So a moment ago, I was working at the title level. If you would like to work with individual items, you may not want to edit every item attached to a specific title. We have the concept of item spaces where you can bring in individual items and work with individual items as well. You do not have to work with everything at the title level. I'm going to go back to advanced search for just a moment and leave these on the screen for you. And that way you can see all the different options you have for advanced search. If you are a library.solution user, you can kind of think of this as lists and actions, but for cataloging. One other very common use of the advanced search is folks that want to know about their items that are on order. You don't have to go into reporting. So you may have cataloging users that don't have access to the LS2 reports or the reporting interface, or you don't want to give everyone access to reports, but your catalogers may need to know what items are on order to be ready for when orders arrive. So let's go ahead and choose status of on order. And you can see I currently have 562 items on order, or 214 titles overall. And again, we can select these. Maybe I want to send these to a workspace. I can select my first page of 10 or all 200, and then we can send them to a workspace. Maybe we want to apply some sort of bulk action. Maybe my items that are currently on order were all purchased by friends of the library, and we want to put a note into all the on order items that they were purchased by friends of the library. Lots of really neat uses for the advanced search. All right, that brings me to the end of my highlights for the cataloging portion. What I wanted to do now is take a moment and show how our new inventory interface works. And I believe we may have a poll question before we get started with that.
Yeah, Phil, I was actually going to jump in real quick, so I appreciate the lead in for that. If everybody could please, that is on the webinar, if you really could quickly, just let us know if your library collection is currently RFID enabled. The reason why we ask this is not necessarily because if it is or if it isn't, you could utilize inventory, because you can either way. There's just some features that we would like to be aware of, and maybe it would be valuable for Phil to mention as we go through. And I will also say, and I'm a little remiss for that because I didn't mention this at the beginning of the webinar, we always do answer questions, but we typically do that towards the end of the session. If you have questions and you've seen things along the way that you would like a little bit of a clarity on, or if there's anything that you would like us to potentially go into a little bit more in depth, please take the time to ask those questions. We will circle back to these when we get to the end of the presentation. So we don't want anybody to think that you just have to watch these and not be able to get your questions addressed. We will address those at the end as best as we can, and if we can't, we will always follow up with you directly. Phil, we've gotten our information, so please take it away.
Terrific. So our inventory interface is within the cataloging platform. We felt that that made sense, and customer feedback told us that that made sense to them as well. So we've placed the inventory interface into the cataloging module. Now, also bear in mind, Library.Solutions is very permissionable, so you can give folks access to inventory without giving them control over cataloging. So just keep that in mind. So a lot of Library.Solution customers are probably familiar with RTI, or for anyone else, we have had real-time live web-based inventory now for nearly a decade. And one of the major advantages to that live web-based inventory is that there is no scanner file to offload. If you're still offloading scanner files, I feel real bad for you, because those don't always work. Sometimes the offload fails. You might lose your file, or you may run out of memory on your scanner, or you may want multiple employees working throughout the library and you're not sure where they're working, what items they've scanned already. With the live real-time inventory, all that is taken care of and accounted for. So in this example, I'm going to inventory a collection I have so appropriately titled inventory for demonstration purposes. And you can see right now 2 items have already been scanned by me. I can uncheck this box, and if I have multiple staff members scanning inventory items in the same collection, I'll see the items that they have scanned as well. You also have the ability to turn on or off alerts, so you can be notified if an item is out of place. And if an item is on the shelf and overdue, should we charge that fine? So let's go ahead and I'm going to just scan a few items real quick. You can see I've already started. I'm going to start with this item. All right, incorrect collection. So the item is being circulated over in our new book display. Please return it to the proper location. So we get notified that that item is in the wrong place. And again, nice bright red highlight to let you know something is amiss. But as we scan items that are in the right location, that one was already inventoried. There we go. Oh, this one actually should be taken to the circulation desk. It has a status of in transit. Now, I do know that is actually an item that is on hold for a patron. So again, the system is alerting you when something needs to be taken care of. There we are. So that is how easy the real-time LS2 inventory is. And the advantage, again, is there's no files to offload. Multiple staff members can be working at the same time. This works terrific on a tablet device. It is responsibly designed, so you can be walking up and down the stacks with a tablet and a Bluetooth scanner. Or if you do have RFID, just simply load the RFID application onto your PC or your tablet and walk down the row and scan your RFID barcodes, and that will all be updated for you here in real time in the LS2 inventory interface. When inventory is complete, we choose to review, and you can see that I've identified 7 items. I've scanned 7 items. 1 has been accounted for, which means it was already on the shelf, or it's elsewhere in the library, or it could be checked out. 2 more items still need to be scanned for a total of 10. And it's letting me know that 12 items are going to be, 2 items will be marked missing because there's still 2 remaining. So we give you a nice big bright red box to let you know that you're about to mark items missing. So I don't want to do that, so I'll simply close and return back to my inventory home screen. And that's how simple LS2 inventory is. At this point, I believe we're going to hand it back over to the marketing team to display the last poll question.
Okay, Phil, thanks a lot, and a great demonstration there. We do appreciate it. While these poll questions are on your screen, if you could answer these questions for us quickly, there's only 2 more, we promise. And then also, if you have other questions, please feel free to go ahead and get those questions entered in at this time. I will let everyone know as we are 6 minutes past our target time. I did give everyone the heads up that we were going to run long, and it looks like we are in fact running long. So we are going to go ahead and answer these questions. There's quite a few. We will get through these as best as we can. And some of these, I think I might actually have to ask for some follow-up just to make sure we ask everything in the right context, answer everything in the right context. Okay, so as you can see, this question is asking about catalogers on staff who were trained in cataloging as part of an academic program. All right, we got one more question after this one. Would you like to learn more about TLC's cataloging and metadata services? Okay, that is a yes or no question. And while we're while you all are answering this, Phil, I'm going to start running through these and see about getting some of these questions answered.
Right.
One was asked that, and some of these, Phil, if I can just jump in and answer these real quick, I'm going to try and do that just to help kind of facilitate getting through the inventory of questions, pun intended, the inventory of questions here as quick as we can.
Sounds good.
What database is this searching? The database that we used to search was a demo database that we use for demonstrations for our local database that was not a library's live database. And then when you saw searching through ITSMark, that was a record service that TLC provides. And then some of the other Z3950 targets are all records, places that you can get MARC records that we utilize for our demonstrations. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and answer that one, Phil. After the labels are sent to PDF, does one select the option to print to fit, print at custom size of 100%, or print actual size?
Jameson, do you know the answer to that? I was always under the assumption it was actual size because it was using the computer's print parameters.
I do believe you are correct. It is print at actual size.
Okay.
Okay. At some point at 3:27, someone had asked us, can this be undone? I don't know what the context was when that was asked. So if you had asked us, can this be undone? Can you give us a little bit more context? That would be great. Okay. Okay. Are the MARC codes available for those of us who prefer to see them?
Sure. I forgot to show that. I apologize. So let's go to Battle Cry of Freedom. And most certainly we have our MARC view. If you would like to see the record recompiled in traditional MARC, again, keep in mind that RDA, as you edit some of these RDA fields, they may populate multiple MARC fields. So that's why we don't have labels on every single field, but you do have the ability to view the entire MARC record right here on the screen.
Okay, Phil, would you mind, can you click on MARC View?
I just did it not pop up?
You may be showing in a different tab than you're presenting. So I currently don't see it, but there it is. There it was. There's a little bit of delay on my part.
There we go.
So there's your MARC View. Thank you, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there was a question, how do we add to the Z39 section to be able to search those records? This would be a difficult demonstration for us to go in and show getting into the administrative section of the system to show where to put the Z3950 in, but you absolutely can put in your own Z3950 targets. You are not limited to the ones that we showed during the demonstration. Okay. The question was referring to the combining of duplicate records. So that question that I asked for a little bit more clarity on, Phil, they were referring to the combining of dupe records.
Oh, I see. So you can certainly move the items back and forth very easily. If you have not deleted the previous record, you could certainly separate them. There's not an undo button per se, but unless you choose the option, which I have it disabled so I don't go accidentally deleting things left and right during the demonstration, but you can turn on the ability to delete the old record if you've removed all the holdings. If that feature is turned off or you have disabled it for your particular user, you can always go back and move the items back over with the same process I used to move them from record 1 to record 2. You can move them from record 2 to record 1 or split them however you like.
Okay. Phil, this would have to be something that I would have to see demonstrated because I can't remember this one off the top of my head. Is it possible to enter awards as free text?
Let's see here. I think if you
As that's a glossary controlled field, I'm not sure if you can. Now that's something that we could look at for putting in as far as additional content.
Yeah.
And then there's also the notes fields that you would always be able to put in a general notes field for something outside of this glossary controlled dropdown.
Yeah, I want to say that one is hard coded. We have about 150 awards in here. And it is not difficult for us to add to them. So if there are specific regional awards that you have, it is certainly something we could do for you, you know, through a patch process.
All right. Are we able to use pre-printed barcodes from Demco?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I wanted to give you an easy yes. Phil. All right. Is there a deduplication process for name or subject authority record similar to the title dedupe process you showed us? At this time, in order to go into a record and combine, that's a good question, Phil, because I'm trying to remember the work that you can do on the authorities within the ILS. Would you mind clicking that authorities drop down, Phil? Search and create. And can you do a search for, that works?
I'm not sure what her actual title is. There we are.
Okay, so you are able to, as you can see, that you would be able to select local authority terms here, and you can actually find better headings to replace those within the records. So yeah, there is a work that you can do for find and replace. That way that if you know you've got 15 versions of Stephen King and you want to bring those together, there is a way that you would be able to work in there and do that. Okay. We have a lot of staff in our schools that are not library technicians. They have loved OTF because we can limit what they can do. Can we limit the fields staff can add to in LS2 cataloging?
Yeah, there is permissioning available on what they can add, edit, and delete. That is one of the, James, I'm having a hard time articulating what I want to say. There are permissions available
yes,
for that.
They're in the real short answer to that. Yeah, the real short answer is to that, yes. Because this was an OTF replacement, you do have the ability to control what it is that someone has editable access to.
And you can also, to piggyback on that, you can also choose, if you recall, I had an option for upgrade record, delete item on check-in, or do nothing. You can actually pre-configure that based on the user permission so that they don't get that pop-up in staff when they check in and on the fly or a fast add. They are defaulted to whatever you have selected for that user.
Yep. Phil, I'm going to go ahead and jump in on this one real quick. Aside from adding names to a record, how is name authority control handled? That would be a conversation I think we could really have as far as the mechanics on how authority control is handled, because that's somewhat of a mechanics and in the weeds question on how we get, and there's a lot of other content we get to. So I'm completely not trying to dismiss the concern or the question. regarding how authority control is handled, and that is a conversation we can have later. And I believe that was asked by someone named Gavin. Gavin, that is definitely something we can follow up with you. Okay. Does the inventory notice notify us that holds on the item are being scanned? Yes, you do get an indication if there's a hold attached to that title or an inventory. You get a message on that, correct, Phil?
Yeah, that was it told me the item was in transit, and transit is a slightly generic term. It's used for a couple of things. It could be a transfer between locations or collections, or an item that is in transit from the shelf to the hold shelf. So you would simply, if you simply check the item in circulation, it will give you the detailed information.
Okay. I will say I'm answering these questions in chronological order, because when I had gotten that question from Gavin and I said we would follow up from it, just so everyone knows, after that, Gavin had asked, do you have any plans for a training webinar such as this to discuss how name, subject headings, and genre heading authority control is handled in LS2 cataloging? So instead of us following up one-on-one with you, Gavin, what I do is I'll circle with my team and we'll get the content together for a webinar on authority control, and we will look at doing one of those for you. So that's how we'll go ahead and address that for everyone who is interested in the mechanics of authority control. Okay, the positive feedback on inventory, thank you. Is there still an option for in processing to show up in the OPAC and in stats? So can you still see in processing outside of LS2 Cat?
Yes.
Okay. Question, is there any, and Phil, I'll go ahead and answer this one as well. Is there any chance TLC will add a mark editor on LS2 cataloging? I will say, as we've gone through this editor, you can see that, and one of the questions we had asked about metadata format, that even though we do live in a mark world right now, you know that there are additional formats that are coming down the pike or exist in smaller niche formats right now. What you're going to find is we did this editor on purpose so that as different formats come in, you as a cataloger won't necessarily have to jump between format editor. As these become more and more prevalent, we will be able to map these data points into this editor so you have a unified editor experience regardless of what your metadata format is. Now, as we get feedback from our customers, you'll see that we open up even more and more data formats into the editor, and that seemingly with almost every release, it seems that we do that. But right now, as far as doing raw editing in a mark record, because of the way we have this map and because the way the industry is kind of moving with metadata, I would not make a promise for a soon-to-be future release that would have that type of editing in it.
I will piggyback on that and caveat it with, as a TLC customer, you do have free access to Bibliophile, which is a full feature mark editor, and importing files after you've edited within Bibliophile is very easy. So you certainly you have access to that for free.
Yep. Is there a way to have the labels print to an actual Dymo label printer? Yes.
Yep.
Okay, another question about authority control. I'm going to go ahead and push through that. Gretchen, that is not for me to dismiss your question. Again, we will handle that in a webinar in the future. As far as getting into the layout of how to overlay an existing mark record, I don't know, Phil, if we really have the time to actually set up. I don't even know if you have the data to show an overlay, but as far as overlaying data, that is functionality that is available, correct?
Yes, and during the import process, you're given several options on what to do with multiple data points and whether they are replaced, amended, or added to. But yes, there is an overlay process. And I presume that's an OSA customer asking that question.
Possibly. When moving items from one record to another, do all items have to be moved, or can you just add a few? When you did that move holdings, you had the ability to select all or check individuals.
That's
correct.
Correct. So if you happen to have a couple large prints on a record and you realize that you have large print mixed with standard print, something like that, you can certainly choose which ones move and which ones stay.
Right. Can the combining of dupe records be undone? I believe this was addressed earlier. You can move material from one target to a next. There's not necessarily an undo button. So as long as you haven't deleted that origin title record, you can still move it back, correct?
Yep.
Can we test this out? I'm interested in the upgrade, but I would like my staff to do some hands-on. I'm trying to remember, Phil, I'm unfortunately been out of implementation long enough. Do we have the ability for a sandbox still?
Yes, Melissa Powell would be who you would work with about that. So take note of who that was, and we'll have Melissa reach out to them. You can actually see here this OWL1 user is a customer testing out our sandbox. So.
Okay. This may be more of a support question, so Phil and I may punt on this, and you may want to reach to our support team if you've not already. When we use a record from another library's database, they have local notes. When we try to delete them, they show up anyway. After we have saved our record, can anything be done?
So my advice just would, if you would like to try this, would be to, once you have saved your changes, use the republish feature. That should overwrite the data in the LS2 pack Postgres database. If it does not, definitely contact support, because that should be how it works.
Yep. Next question, I'll go ahead and answer these two, Phil. In LS2, is LS2 cataloging compatible with LS serials and LS bookings? As LS serials and bookings are client modules that are with our 4X generation and below, as far as those modules as they are, as far as those modules are right now, those are with the 4X, and those are not currently found in the 5X generation. I will say, and it was funny because Phil was asking about some features that might be coming out in version 5.7, and I said, let's not talk about 5.7 and let's focus on the versions that we have now. However, I'm going to break that rule, Phil, so you can call me a hypocrite once the training is done. And I will say, Laura, that with 5.7, you will see what we are targeting for to be our first release of LS2 serials, which will be the serials module found within the LS2 platform, 100% web-based platform. Do current holdings codes transfer over from client? Yes. Can TLC assist with setting up the connections to OCLC and other targets? Yes. Are you able to save directly to a Z3950 source outside of the system? No.
I think we have
catalog for multiple.
I say, Jameson, don't we have, or we're working on at least an OCLC update feature for holdings?
I believe that has been in discussion. I almost feel like in classic client cataloging, there was the feature that when you save to your local database, you also had the ability to save directly to an export file at the same time. And Z39, I have a feeling that was what that feature was referring to. But, you know, there are always features where, you know, we have folks that, you know, will save directly to their local database and then run a report or run an export of records edited or added by date range and then fire those off. There are ways to accommodate that functionality without going directly to an external Z3950 source. Okay, I believe we might be coming towards the end-ish of questions. We catalog multiple schools and do each school individually. If we do, say, 50 books for one school, can you show how we do the labels? We also made a label page that we use as packing list, as call number. It would be difficult for us to do that demonstration, Samantha, but I do want to let you know that you do have the ability to do cataloging for the different locations and setting up specific templates per location. I think Phil's actually already showing you in the top left, if you look at your screen, how you can switch locations right from one centralized location. So that functionality is there. I'm not trying to dismiss the question, but in interest of time, we are trying to push through. So the answer is for yes. And then if we need to go any further, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Is there a way to see who catalogs what items? I will say, if as far as getting in and looking at line by line version history, that level of detail, that's not necessarily there. However, when you're looking at the activity feed where Phil is right now, you can clearly see the person who cataloged or added or deleted or uploaded files. You can see which user was logged in and did which. So I can see The Incredibles was edited by Phil, yet I can see You Say It First was added by Virginia.
And then you can see here in the drop down, you can also limit by what type of action was taken. So if you want to just see all imports or all edits or all deletes.
Yep. Phil, are printers using tractor fed labels compatible with LS2 Cat?
We're going to have to get back to you on that one, unless Jameson knows the
Yeah,
answer
I'm hesitant.
to
I was going to say I'm hesitant to answer that with a as you can tell by the deafening silence. I'm hesitant to answer that with a confident yes, because I'm not sure how you would consider, a Dymo fed label. I know you may be referring to an old tractor fed Oki. I don't know how many of those are still in circulation, and I don't know if we designed this to work in conjunction with like an Oki data, but we would be able to get back to you on that one. Okay.
Say I do have
How
about,
would you?
I was going to say, we do have about 24 different brands to choose from within the label stock configuration tool. And like I said, we have nearly 200 total stocks available to work with.
Okay. How would you add records pulled from bookware? I don't know if I'm familiar enough to answer that question. I will tell you with bookware, if they have Z3950 as an option, if they're able to, if they have a file, a record file, we would be able to grab records to import from there. Okay. Can we? Okay, this is going to be a quick yes with unfortunately not enough time for a demonstration. Can we import MARC records into the new LS2 cataloging similar to the open version of the old cataloging? Yes, you can import MARC records into this system. Is there reporting for new authorities? I do believe so. Okay. Thank you for letting us know that JD Robb is also available for Nora Roberts. Rachel, your feedback regarding the MARC editor is heard and noted. What happens if the label stock we use isn't listed in the options for label stock? How do we configure stock for labels? Lindsay, you simply just let TLC know the label stock that's not available and what you want to use. We get that in, we get those dimensions in, and once we get those in our system based on your support ticket that you give us, that's not only available just for you, that's available for every customer that could be potentially using LS2 cataloging. Okay, we did, Angela, we talked about the MARC view versus the MARC edit. Okay, we have some folks that want to play with this in the sandbox. That's awesome. Laura, we are really shooting for some web-based serials. We will get those demonstrated and shown to everyone as soon as we are ready to go with the release of 5.7. Can we use LS2 cataloging and staff still using the client as we transition? We could give you access to a sandbox to acclimate yourselves with this. We could give you access to instruction, and we could set up a training session. But once you upgrade from 4X to 5, you will lose access to your client software. Okay. All right, very good. That was all of the questions that we had received from everybody in this webinar, and we did run a little bit long, so I do appreciate for everyone sticking around. Uh, there definitely was interest expressed in authorities content. So what I would recommend doing is if you don't already follow tlcdelivers.com/webinars, that's where you can find our upcoming sessions, as well as an archive from all the sessions that we've been doing since about, I believe it was the end of March, beginning of April last year as part of this series goes. So again, if there was a lot of content covered and you feel like you really want to hear or show somebody something that you really liked, um, be it printing, be it advanced search, whatever that may be, if there's something you would like to share with someone, you can always get that content from there, and we're always available to answer additional questions as well. And if you would like to just set up a one-on-one demonstration, we could probably move forward with that as well. Phil, thank you very much for this very detailed sales demo. Totally appreciate it. You did a great job. Thank you. Everyone that was here, thanks again. We will have sessions coming up next month. We'll get those posted. But in the meantime, everyone stay safe, stay healthy, continue to do what you can to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. And on behalf of myself, TLC, Phil, the marketing team, and everyone else, thank you very much. Everybody have a great day.